Thank you very much. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the 8th European Marine Board 8th Forum. I am very welcome. I'm very happy to welcome people in the room and people online. It is one of our first hybrid events, so obviously there will be, I'm sure, some things that would be different from what we're used to. Just so you know, I think, there we go, I've already forgotten to move my slides. So my name is Sheila Heymans. I am your moderator for today. I am the Executive Director of the European Marine Board, and I will be taking us through today, as you'll see me quite a lot as the day goes along. So we have some practical information. First we have some housekeeping rules. So basically, for housekeeping rules, please be aware that there's no fire alarm expected. So for the people in the room, if there is a fire, if the fire alarm goes off, then we just need to follow the green arrows to get out of the building. I'm assuming that the technicians will be in front and we'll just follow them, actually. If you need the bathroom, it's out at the back. Please, if you're moving around, wear your mask. For those in the building, you actually have a European Marine Board mask that you can wear. We will try and do this as COVID safely as we can. You know, we have most of the speakers on the stage will have one of these so that we don't have to move microphones around. And Rebecca, who's in the back there, will, if you ask a question, come and hold the microphone for you. And please keep your mask on when you're asking questions. If you need to smoke, there's a smoking area upstairs, outside. There is Wi-Fi available as Blue Point visitor, and there's no password needed. There is a photographer. For those of you in the room, you will see him. He will probably take lots of photos of us because there's not so many of us in the room. And there are also some students from the Arteveld Hogeschool here who will be doing some videography. So again, there will be lots of video taken. If you do not want to be in the video or on the photos, please let myself or Rebecca or one of the Marine Board people know, and we will make sure that you're not on there. So that's the housekeeping rules for the people in the building. For the people online, I am hoping that there's some of you online. I'm not sure. Please, if you are online, make sure that you have your video and your and microphone off, so keep yourself muted. You can use Slido to ask questions. All questions will be going through Slido. Please, to get in, it's hashtag EMB Forum, or you can use the QR code, which you can see on the screen. We have somebody in the room, Britt. Can you put up your hand, Britt? Who will, in fact, ask the questions for you. So she will be the voice of the online community. So she will participate as everybody else in the room, but asking questions from online. So please make sure that you put your name and organization and who the question is for in Slido, because in fact, you know, it could not be obvious who the question is for. This event is actually being recorded and it will be posted on YouTube afterwards. And if you are using social media, please use the hashtags EMB Forum and Ocean Decade. So that is all of the not so interesting stuff. So let's go through the agenda. First of all, we will have an opening session of about 30 minutes. Then we will have a first session, which is on engaging early career professionals, and we actually have some in the room, which is always great. Then we have a coffee break for the people in the room. The coffee break is outside. For the people at home, you get to have your own coffee, which is quite nice. Well, I hope so. It certainly is in my house. And then we will have a second session on the activities that the European Marine Board have done towards the Ocean Decade. Then we will have some lunch. We'll have an hour and a half, so, you know, it's a lot of time to go for the people in the room to go outside and get some fresh air. And then at 2 o'clock, the third session will be on an inspiring and engaging ocean, so more about ocean literacy. And the fourth session is on harmonizing the Ocean Decade activities in Europe. And then we'll have a closing session, and we'll close at 4 o'clock. And then for the people in the room, we'll have some drinks that you can have outside. So that's basically the agenda for today. And you'll be happy to know you won't be seeing me for very much longer. I'll go straight into the opening session now. And for the opening session, the opening will be done by our chair, Gilles Lericolais, who is the chair of the European Marine Board. He is also the delegate for IFREMER and the advisor to the CEO of IFREMER. So Gilles, I will leave you the stage. Oops, hold on, let me put my mask on first.
Thank you very much, Gilles, and hello, ladies, hello, gentlemen, hello, members, hello, visitors. I'm very happy to see you there. Not so numerous people attending, but I'm happy you could succeed to be there. And I welcome also all the people online, and I hope this, as Sheila has mentioned, this new type of forum, which is the number 8 in the list of the European Marine Board Forum, will be a success, even if it's an hybrid. Well, so we are going to be use of that. So I remember when we started to have this Blue Point forum prepared, we were facing the first COVID alpha, and now we are here with the Omicron. So I hope that we will stop very early the Greek alphabet, because when we'll be at Zeta, I don't know where we will succeed in this. So I'm still happy that at last this forum is still working, is still possible. And we take this opportunity to go for the Ocean Decade, because I think it's an important time for the Ocean Decade. It's a decade, and it's already 1 year, which been the decade has been started. And I think it's time to see how Europe is supporting the Ocean Decade. And I think we will have discussion about that and see what we can do at the European level to be engaged in this important United Nations action, which is a decade for the science for ocean. I remember when I started to be in this sort of politics, science to policy, we were thinking in the group 1 at the IOC how we can put the ocean in the forefront, and I think this is a success to have these decades, and we really want that Europe engaged in that. So I'm very happy that this event has been endorsed as an official Ocean Decade activity, and we will talk about that during this day and see how we can engage. So very quickly, I will try to, the quickest I can, give a short overview of what is the European Marine Board, especially for those who are less familiar with the European Marine Board. But unfortunately, I know that many of you know what I'm going to talk about. So the European Marine Board is we'll say an association which is an independent and self-sustained. We are working in the marine science policy interface, and in fact we provide advice, important advice, with policy brief, with forum, with position papers, and these advice are for the future research and policy needs related to marine issues. So for those, in fact, Sheila presented me. I think you have remarked that I'm French, so you will see I have some difficulty to say future, infrastructure, so let me use the French pronunciation when I will say the infrastructure and stuff like this, because instead it's going to be difficult for me. So be aware of that. So coming back to the European Marine Board, we cover a wide range of marine and science topics. And this is an association who has been established in 1995, originally with the European Science Foundation. And you know that the European Science Foundation arrived to an end. And in 2017, we became independent, and we were becoming an independent legal entity, which is called ESBL, which is a Belgium association for non-profit association for international science. So we try to provide, and think we do the best we can, a European focus on research, marine research. And we have also an international outlook, and we try to have a better national connection, especially with our members. We are coming from different area and different member states of Europe. So the next slide. So the European Marine Board is a unique think tank, especially in marine science policy based, and it's based on a partnership of major marine and oceanographic institute, research funding agencies, and national network of universities. And I'm happy to see that we have most of the representative of different of this area. We have the representative here in the room for the national network of university. We have some representative of research funding agency and representative of research organization. So in the room. So that's a good thing. Thank you for being there today with us. So in 2021, European Marine Board has 35 members representing 18 countries, which represent almost 10,000 researchers and technical staff, technical and administrative staff too. Since 2 years ago, for 2 years ago, for 2 years, it's better, I think. We enlarge the possibility of having 4 members per countries attending the European Marine Board. And I think this will give the possibility of having more members representing better the countries. I think Italy is already as a number 4, which is something important. We have a nice secretariat. I really insist on the work which is done by the secretariat, not only by Sheila, but she has 6 members, because you will see a lot of Sheila, but there is a lot of the members of the secretariat who are working in the shadow. They are here present, and I will really thank them for all the work they are doing, preparing my notes, preparing everything. So I thought being chair of the European Marine Board was difficult, but with such a secretariat, I can tell you it's quite easy. And so I will really thank them. So you have the picture of them. There are 6 there, and they are also having internship. So they are seconded by very nice young people doing that. And also thank them. They are also hidden in the shadow. So thank you very much for this very important stuff. So we'll come back to the mission statement. So let me read the mission statement because of the European Marine Board. This is something important. So the European Marine Board provides a pan-European platform for its member organization to develop common priorities, advance marine research, and bridge the gap. They always use this word, bridge the gap, which is important, between science and policy. This in order to meet future marine science challenges and opportunities. This is our mission statement, and we are trying to do the best to succeed in that, especially to bridge a gap between science to policy, which is very important. I can tell you that with some of the activity I'm doing now, trying to bring science issues for the oceans to the politicians. So what we're doing, we transfer marine science knowledge and recommendation to marine policy. It's what I'm saying just previously, which is in our mission statement. So we are trying to do that. And we also transfer policy questions and needs back to the marine science community. This is also an important way. So there is one way to the other. The bridge is not going only in one direction, but it's going in the both direction. So it's a two-way bridge. It's not only one-way directions. We provide our advice through events and publications. So you have a long list on this slide. That means we are quite active. Events like this forum. And we are doing a lot of publications. And there is an overview of activities and way of providing advice on the slide here. So you have so I already say that we are 8 forums, And we have been publishing 26 position papers and also 7 future-size briefs, 9 policy briefs, and 2 science commentaries. And I can tell you that all the documents are free access, and you can download them online on the European Marine Board website. So it's very easy you just have to type European Marine Board on Google or on whatever Qwant or others research web. We have also meetings like Eurocian, these conferences. We had organized 9. It's a multiple day conference, and it's a science policy conference series, which are co-organized by the European Commission and us, the European Marine Board, and usually we try to link them with the European presidency. This is an important event, and we hope that we will be able to have the next one probably in 2023. So we hope we will get rid of this pandemic, but we never know, and that could be something important, and we will try to have this probably organized in Spain. So that's something we are looking at. European Marine Board Forum, such the one I am trying to open, or I am opening. I hope it's on the way. It's bridged the gap again between the science community and policymakers, and it acts as a platform for discussion and share knowledge. We organize also a brown bag lunch. There's 4 which has been organized, and it's 1.5 hour organizations, and they are more a way to detect debates, and it's based on a topical area. It's very specific, and we try to have a discussion on something which is on the spot at the moment. So the science webinars are also, we have science webinars, and I recommend you, they are on YouTube, and they are of 1 hour. So this is, I think, the way we are doing. So the time is I have to stop? Yeah. So, okay, no, you have to go back. So there is another view of our recent activities. I think we will have today an important day today, because we will launch one of our position paper, which is about geohazard. And we have recently launched the underwater noise, and Frank Thompson will talk about this later during the day. We have active in EU-funded activities and projects, and we are active in a relation with the Ocean Decades. And I'm very pleased to announce you today that we become the first Ocean Decade implementing partner, which is a very important event, especially today, where we have focused our vision on the Ocean Decades. So I'm looking forward for a very interesting and inspiring event, and there will be a great speaker and panelists we will be present today. Thank you for being there. Thank you for following the 8th Forum of the European Marine Board, and I wish you a very fruitful day, and hope we have important discussion, especially on the Ocean Decades. Thank you very much. I wear my mask.
Thank you very much, Gilles.
And leave the moderator who just wanted me to leave the place. So.
Yes, please. Thank you, Gilles. All right, so back to me. Just quickly to introduce, we will now have an opening address by Ms. Charlina Vitcheva, who is the Director General of DG Mare, and she will give us an opening address which will happen on video. So I would ask her to please put on your video, and I see you there, so I will leave you to it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, dear Sheila, dear Gilles. It is a great pleasure to be here, dear members of the board, of the European Marine Board, all of you. And I also greet with a lot of pleasure all the participants in your forum. I'm supposed to have a presentation and someone over there should be sharing it. Yes, so first of all, I would like to express my real pleasure to be here today. And it is an honor to open your 8th forum and present some of the key elements of the European engagement to the UN Decade of Ocean Science. I would like, because I was listening to Gilles, and I would like to congratulate you. It is extremely important what you're doing to bridge the gap between science and policy. For us, this is invaluable input, and your role as a major think tank in Europe is absolutely essential. Please go to the next slide. Saying that actually the European Commission supports the vision and goals of the UN Ocean Decade and ocean science would be understatement, because we are fully engaged and committed to the vision and goals. Those goals are in fact enshrined in our mission, and they make up, I have to say, most of our daily work. Particularly of my service, DG Mare, and myself, the Directorate General of Maritime Affairs and Fisheries. I'm always using Mare, but I realize it's probably good to spell out the full name, but also for myself. From maritime policy to the implementation of the common fisheries policy, our work contributes to achieving the goals and to tackling the challenges that are identified by the UN Ocean Decade. Now that the climate and the environmental crises are center stage, and now that rightly we have this on top of our political agenda, finally, the decade is the opportunity and the framework we needed to share capacity, to build strong and lasting international commitments, and to maximize the impact of our action. Let me give you some concrete examples of those actions and of our constant, I will say, multidimensional and multilateral work in support of this shared vision. Please go to the next slide. I will start with an example which stretches Europe globally. And this is our initiative of international ocean governance. We started this initiative in 2016, and since then, the European Union's international ocean governance agenda has been promoting international cooperation on ocean protection and on the development of a sustainable blue economy. And this is an engagement with the international ocean research and data as central pillars to this international ocean agenda. The results of our recent public consultation confirm the importance of promoting ocean knowledge and the uptake of the knowledge and data in ocean governance. The International Ocean Governance Stakeholder Forum that was put forward, it recommends, and we have conclusions and recommendations since the beginning of this year to this effect of international cooperation, and these are setting also the baseline for the update of the International Ocean Governance Agenda in 2022. We are expecting a communication to this effect at the beginning of next year. This will be an important contribution in achieving the goals of the UN decade. Please go to the next slide. Yes. The next initiative that I would like to bring to your attention is quite a novel, I will say, tool under our biggest research program in Europe, and this is Horizon Europe. It will cover the next programming period. So we have the novel tool of missions, and these missions are centered around big societal challenges. We have 5 of them, and one of them is Mission Ocean. The full name of this mission is Restore Our Ocean and Waters by 2030. Our missions are a commitment to solve these major societal challenges around which they are built, and we plan for them to go much beyond the classic research. So though they are initiated by Horizon Europe, we are speaking about broader innovation and mobilization of societal energy and investment beyond this program. So we would like to spark innovation across sectors to deliver effective solutions. And we know that linear development will not do the work. We need leapfrog solutions, which can be ensured only through innovation. Mission Ocean will be particularly centered on 3 targets, and they are all related to achieving climate neutrality and restoring coastal and marine ecosystems. So the first one is conservation, and it is aligned with the overall objective of protecting marine ecosystems by 30% protection, and covering by 30% our seas and marine ecosystems with this action. The second target is to prevent pollution, especially the one that comes from land. And this includes plastics, nutrients, chemicals. And the third one is to transform the blue economy to be climate neutral and circular, but also to bring new solutions, for example, for decarbonization and mitigation and adaptation to climate change. Bundled with existing assets, such the European Marine Observation and Data Network, the so-called EMODNet, in assembling marine data, for example, or ongoing projects such as the Ocean Observation Initiative to gather data from our member states, this mission will ensure a fit-for-purpose observation, monitoring, and forecasting system. Last to mention, the mission will raise public awareness, because we will be very much working with the citizens, and it will contribute to further literacy and buy-in. It will connect people and local communities with the ocean and let them co-design local measures for the shift to sustainability. Please go to the next slide. Yes. The next initiative that I will bring to your attention is everything that we are doing on ocean literacy and skills. Of course, ocean literacy and public engagement are long-term projects, and we have been working in the direction of engaging, especially with the young generation, for some time. We have established the European Union for Ocean Coalition, which has the objective to raise awareness on the state of the ocean. It mobilizes society and provides a context for action, especially, as I've said, for young people willing to come up with innovative solutions. Through the new European Maritime Fisheries and Aquaculture Fund, which will kick off after the adoption of the regulation in July, we are also pursuing the development of blue skills. This is extremely important in order to get the adequate workforce for a sustainable foundation of a sustainable blue economy. I'm mentioning our specific funds, but as the case with Mission Ocean, here as well, we are really stretching ourselves beyond our boundaries in DG Mare, and we are engaging with many other investment opportunities. For the blue skills, for example, we are reaching out to the European Social Fund. For blue economy, the structural funds in general, the recovery and resilience facility can be of a big player here. So we have to go beyond the limited Mare resources. So I would like you to go to the next slide. Yes, the next and probably the most traditional way we can contribute to the goals and mission of the UN Decade for Oceans is the common fisheries policy. And I have to say that this policy has been centered around sustainability, and now we are preparing a report for the functioning of the common fisheries policy that will center now the attention on climate change and clean oceans. It is absolutely clear that sustainable fisheries are necessary for replenishing our ocean stocks and for increasing resilience of marine ecosystems. In Europe, we do that exactly through our European Common Fisheries Policy, the CFP, and the major target there is to end overfishing and opt for, we have a principle there of maximum sustainable yield, the MSY. We opt for a precautionary approach, and we opt for ensuring the protection of sensitive species and sensitive habitats. The Commission will report on the functioning of the CFP by the end of 2022, so next year at the end you can expect this report. Our intention is to look more specifically into topics such as the social dimension and the ones that I mentioned, climate change and clean oceans. We will launch the public consultation on this before the end of this month, and the Commission is preparing also as an advanced environmental pillar to this report, an action plan to conserve fisheries resources and protect marine ecosystems. This action plan will aim to build the necessary bridge between the environmental and fisheries policies as a means to provide a strong contribution to the delivery on the objectives of resilience and biodiversity. The consultation on it is ongoing, and I'm encouraging everyone participating to take the time to participate in these consultations, both the one on the action plan and the upcoming to be opened on the report for the CFP. The common fisheries policy and the action plan will furthermore contribute towards the goals of the UN Ocean Decade regarding the production of sustainable food from our seas, and will complement other EU relevant actions such as the development of sustainable aquaculture guidelines, for example, or the algae strategy that we are preparing in-house. So please go to now last slide. I could list, of course, many more initiatives that the DG Mare and Commission are undertaking. All of these are contributing directly or indirectly to the knowledge base of the Ocean Decade. I would mention immediately the Digital Twin Ocean, that is a joint effort with DG DEFI, but also the DG for Digital Transition and the Joint Research Center. But probably I have to stop here because the most important in this event is the stakeholder dialogue, which is invaluable to us as well. I hope that the framework that I outlined can inspire you to find ways to support the Ocean Decade at your end and through our initiatives. And above all, I hope that the Ocean Decade can bring along wider consensus on priorities, substantial collaboration and openness in sharing data, capacity, technology, scientific knowledge. This is my take-home message for my opening, and I will of course be looking forward to see for new ideas coming from you and the feedback that you will provide throughout today's forum. Thank you very much. I believe that listening is the first step to sound policy making. Therefore, my directorate and myself will be listening with attention. Wishing you success to this forum.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ms. Vitcheva. Thank you for those inspiring words. So I think we are a little bit over time already, and we're going to try and make some of that up, but I don't think we need to panic just yet. So, without further ado, I think we should go to the first session, which is basically about engaging early career ocean professionals in the ocean that we want. So, for that, we have a keynote speaker, and our keynote speaker is Jasmine Harrison. She is an adventure athlete, and she actually holds the record for the youngest woman to row solo across the Atlantic Ocean. I cannot imagine anything worse. So I have a lot of respect for you. And she's going to tell us more about her experiences and what she thinks the ocean needs to be from her perspective. Remember that you can post questions to Jasmine on Slido, so for those of you online, and for those of you that are in the room, we will take your questions afterwards. So the floor is yours.
Thank you. So it's a privilege to be here today. I've never really done anything like this before, so we will see how it goes. But I'm here to answer a few topic questions, and the first one is what inspires me about the ocean. So I spent 70 days rowing solo across the Atlantic from La Gomera in the Canary Islands to Antigua in the Caribbean. And I think 70 days alone at sea is probably enough for most people, but I don't think it was. I feel like I could have spent a much longer amount of time out there because every day was different, and every day it was like it was a different ocean. Like, it's so vast, it's so inspiring. The simplest fact that everybody knows that there's more water on Earth than there is land is just, to me, mind-blowing. When you're out there and all you can see is water, the potential and the secrets that it holds, it's just incredible. Like, it is so inspiring that we need to protect it. The fact that it is ever-changing, it is so powerful that it literally turns a 21-foot rowing boat upside down and throws you around like a washing machine. But it is, bluntly put, a human killer, and we need to protect it. Makes it so inspiring to me, thinking, hang on, why? Like, surely it can look after itself, but it can't. And I think that is really inspiring, seeing how beautiful it is, the sunsets, the wildlife, the intelligence, and the beauty that is all out there. Now, what the ocean that I want looks like. I think everybody in this room and in this forum, we want all the same thing. We want it to be alive. We want it to be sustainable for the future, and we want it to be reliant. So that means litter-free, wildlife full. When I was out on my crossing, I saw lots of wildlife, and it was the highlight of the entire trip. Every single day, you'd be looking forward to seeing a whale, to seeing a dolphin, to seeing these pilot fish that would follow underneath my boat the entire way. But it wasn't quite what I was expecting either. So I'd done a lot of research before I went, and I'd spoken to lots of people. And people row across the Atlantic every single year in a race. And the previous year, I was so excited. I said, oh, I cannot wait to see all of these whales. It's the one thing that I want to see. I've never seen one before. And everybody said to me, oh, Jasmine, you're going to be fed up of seeing them. You're going to see a whale every single day. You're not going to take a picture of it every single time because, you know, you need to keep actually rowing, try and get to the other side. And I was thinking, oh, I cannot wait for that, just being surrounded by these. And this was 12 months before I set off. And I only saw 3. I was out there for 70 days, and I only saw 3. Whereas somebody else that was out there for 50 days saw one every single day. And to me, that's something that's not right. Like, yes, there is other factors in there, but already, that's not the ocean that I wanted. That's not the ocean that I was expecting. And it just doesn't make me full of hope for the future. But it's not just about the ocean itself. The biggest highlight out there, as well as the wildlife, was the clear skies. The night stars, the Milky Way, everything. And if we don't protect the ocean, we're not going to have that either. I think the ocean I want, it has predictable weather systems. I got caught in a few storms, which I didn't fully enjoy, and it made me go really, really slow. But, you know, that happens. It just wasn't as predictable as it always has been. Especially when I got caught in quite a lot of sargassum seaweed. After about the halfway point, I started coming across it. And I was like, I don't really know what this is, but I don't think it should be here. And it really shouldn't. The climate change is moving it literally into the middle of the Atlantic and getting in the way of the Caribbean and creating a lot of problems. And the fact that it also smells. And it's not very nice stuff, particularly when it collects litter. Yes, I didn't see that much litter whilst I was out at sea, but almost all of it was caught up in the sargassum. And, well, you'd have thought I would maybe see more rubbish, but I'm a tiny little boat, which I can't see more than half a mile away at any one point because of how big the swell was. But I want to see an ocean that is the same a few years ago or 50 years ago as it will be in 50 years' time. Yes, we have the ocean decade, and it's amazing, but some of the damage has already been done. The ocean I want was what we already had before. An ocean that doesn't destroy islands, that doesn't destroy livelihoods and homes. Now, my next question was, has information about the ocean decade reached you and your network? And if not, how can it be mainstreamed? So, personally, yes. The ocean decade's information had reached me, but I spend a lot of time outside and I have a huge interest in the ocean. Well, obviously there wasn't want to spend as much time there, but I would have been blind not to see it. But I think a lot of other people, particularly the younger generation, will know a lot of the initiatives, and take part in them as well, without knowing and without the knowledge that it is under the ocean decade. For example, I think it's because many people don't actually see the damage which is happening. I spend all my time outside. I walk my dogs every single day. I go down to the local river. But I think a lot of people will sit there on a computer and not have even seen the rubbish that is in their local river that they put there, which is going down into the sea. So we've got to make it local, and we've got to make it personal. We mainstream it because we've got to make people feel blame. The younger generation in particular want to blame their parents, want to blame their grandparents. It's never actually our fault. It's always somebody else's fault. It's got to be localized. Look, this is what you did. This is you polluting. We've got to sort it out. And this is what the ocean decade is about. For example, the Netflix documentary Seaspiracy. That really hit home for a lot of people. And it really hit a lot of people straight in the face. And it was brilliant. However, it still wasn't localized enough for people, particularly that I've spoken to about this in the UK. It's all on the other side of the world, so it's not our fault. It's not us to deal with it yet, because there's nothing we can do. It's not what you can do sat at home on your computer in your local town. It doesn't hit you home enough. But we need a clear, easy focus. One of the biggest things for me that I sort of, when I got more involved in the sea, was about 4 or 5 years ago, and the Save the Turtles campaign. So easy, straightforward, and out there. The turtles was everywhere. That's what everybody talked about, and suddenly, from plastic straws, paper straws, everywhere. And it worked. It was simple, it was direct, and it just happened. Instead of saving the turtles, save the ocean. Let's get the ocean decade branding out there rather than a picture of a turtle. Because it's about all the wildlife, and it's not just about that, it's about saving humans as well. Social media, that's a really good way to make it mainstreamed. For the younger generation in particular, that's where everybody lives. It's online. And it's got to be clear, because yes, there are so many different initiatives, and there are so many different charities out there. It's confusing. It's confusing for me. So since I finished this row in February, I think I've counted at least 6 or 7 marine charities which want me to be an ambassador for them. Now that's great. However, what can I do that will actually help? You know, yes, you can say, yes, I'll be an ambassador. You stand there on the website, but there's nothing really there, because for me, what I do is normal, and I don't see anything special about that. Yeah, you just do your normal recycling, living life, try and protect the ocean, spread the word, tell people, no, you don't need to do that, no, you do need to do that. And I don't understand why that's something to shout out about. Like, that's normal. And so we need people, we need celebrities, we need bigger people to normalize it as well, rather than just me as a normal person being part of it. And I think laws, things when we brought in, there's been so much development in the past 10 years already. The ban or the charge on 5p carrier bags. For me, that was the biggest thing to realize there was a problem. And I was like, right, okay, I'm never gonna ever buy a plastic bag again from the supermarket. I will literally carry everything home, dropping it and having to make 2 trips if I forget one. And that's just the way it is. Bringing these laws in, it makes a big impact. Up until that, I was still buying these bags. And now it all links very closely to what might inspire non-scientists to engage with the ocean. Now, I'm not a scientist, but I am fully engaged with the ocean. That's because I love it, and I spent a long time out there, and the sea just draws me to it. But for other people, you need that real-life experience as well, or you need that direct correlation with it. You've got to see the impact to understand it. And the direct personal influence. So, for example, I've always cared about the ocean and protecting the environment, just because I've always preferred animals to humans. And this was that I didn't realize just how much I needed to do it to protect humans as well. I always thought it was for the animals and saving the wildlife. But I have a sister, and she always wanted to do anything to spite me, as I think most older siblings always want to. And she knew that I would always want to recycle this, to do something, and she would purposely go out of her way to do something against my values. But she now has children, and since having children, she cares more for them than she did about herself or about the world when they didn't exist. So from somebody that would purposely go out of their way to do something against my ethics, she would now go out there and only using reusable nappies. We'll go onto the food programs done by Olio and trying to reduce and just protect and do anything that you can. And it's only because she was doing it for somebody else. You're doing it for your future children. You're doing it for your future grandchildren. She didn't care about herself. She didn't care about me. She didn't care about the environment up until this point. So it's getting the message to people saying, hang on, if you have children, or I think 90% of the people in this world will know somebody, or know somebody that knows somebody under the age of 5. If we can say this is for their future, it's not necessarily yours, because a lot of people don't care about themselves, not as much as they do about a child. If it's for their future and their children, then let's do it for them. Let's think about the Ocean Decade, and let's mainstream it and engage all these non-scientists to believe and to do something a little bit more, and it might get there. Now, that's as much as I have, but I also have some footage of whilst I was out at sea. The first one is the beautiful sunset, and that just made my day and makes you inspired to want to continue going across that sea and to actually want to protect it. As soon as you see something, I think, yeah, let's recycle this because of this. And I would put myself back there in the middle of the sea every single day to see that again. Now, the second one is the sargassum that I talked about, that I got stuck in so much, and it's just ridiculous because it shouldn't be there. And finally, I think I just want to share some of the wildlife that I saw whilst I was out there, because it's beautiful, and partly this is the reason why everybody is here today, so why not share it? Wow. And if showing this to people doesn't inspire an ocean decade, then I really don't know what else would. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, Jasmine. I think you can actually go and sit on the stage.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you leave the first chair for me and sit on the second one, that would be perfect.
This one.
Yeah, perfect. All right, so I think I can speak for everybody to say thank you very much. It was wonderful to see those and to hear your thoughts on it. I think it really makes a huge difference to hear it from you know, we as scientists we always speak to ourselves a lot, but it's nice to hear from somebody who's actually been out there and seen it and has made the effort to go out there, because that's, as you say, not everybody makes the effort to go there. We have time for questions, so I don't know if anybody has a question online. Is there anything? No? If there's any questions in the room, I have a question. I'll start by my question, then other people might think of questions. And it's a bit of a technical question. Could you see what you were when you were putting the camera, could you actually see what you were taking photos of, or were you just sort of putting it in there and hoping to see something?
No, I could see what I was taking photos of.
Okay.
Or it was actually, so for example, a marlin at the end, I knew it was a marlin, but I didn't know it was a striped marlin until I got the footage of it.
Yeah.
And it's actually identifying the type of whale. I can see there's a whale there, but it's learning and having to look at it in detail to know exactly what it is. But I was spending most of the time rowing rather than filming.
Than looking, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I was just thinking, you know, if I was sitting, well, first of all, I get terribly seasick, so I would never do what you just did. But if I was sitting there and wasn't seasick, actually being able to put the camera under the water and not knowing that, so did you have a screen? So no, you basically just put it in and hope that you would get some footage. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I think you did really well there. I think it's not so easy to take good photographs. I don't know if anybody else has. Gilles, where's our microphone? Hold on. You're not allowed to touch it.
Thank you. Yeah, I have a question about the sargassum.
I don't know if the microphone is on. Is it
okay.
on?
Yeah,
there we go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for this, Brian, talk, and especially for what you did. So not for the talk, but for what you did, which was very impressive. I have a question about the sargassum. Where did you find it? Because I'm very, very impressed. So far from the West Indies, or really in the middle of the Atlantic, or not far from the West Indies? Because it's really a problem. So.
Yeah.
I think your footage is quite important. I think many politicians have to look at it.
I think that footage was about 900 miles from Antigua, so quite a long out away from the Caribbean. It was halfway I first started seeing the strands of it and the trails that I would almost follow and sing to myself as I'm rowing, follow the Yellowweed Road. And then it got bigger into more vast clumps of it, and you could see it and having to predict each time to be able to move around it, because as soon as you get stuck, there's nothing you can do. You have to sit there and wait to go through it. So within the last 1,000 miles, there was a lot, considering it was 3,000 miles in total. One entire third was just sargassum, and you saw it a lot of the time.
Yeah. All right. Do we have any? Oh, yes. We have one more question. We have some time, so we might as well take it for some good questions.
It's a follow-up question for the sargassum. Did you notice that there was less wildlife when you were stuck in the sargassum, or not?
I didn't notice it as much. When the sargassum was around me, I didn't see any dolphins at that point, actually. But I think there was a lot more fish. So I think the fish use it to stay under and shelter, whereas, yeah, as soon as the sargassum started, I didn't see a single dolphin or whale, but the fish increased.
Okay, and we have a question online. Excellent, we can try the online system.
Yeah,
Go,
so I
Brett.
have a question from Pierre Fietzek. He says, thanks for the inspiring talk. What and how much did you eat every day while rowing such a long distance? And I will add to that with my own question. I'm curious if you had to jump in the water sometimes to clean the bottom of your boat, and what that felt like, and also just what it felt like in general to be so isolated in the middle of the ocean, and how did that spark your emotions? Did you feel energized and connected to the ocean, or lonely? Or
So to start with, I was meant to eat ration packs and dehydrated food that I'd put water in, but I didn't like it, so I actually lived off biscuits most of the time. I took a lot of chocolate with me, a lot of biscuits, and lost 12 kilos in weight because I didn't actually like the food. And then, yes, I did get in the sea. I had to get in the sea to clean the bottom of my boat because the amount of algae that grows so quickly is actually astonishing and slows you down a lot. So as soon as I cleaned the bottom of the boat, my speed would pick up by a knot, and considering the average speed is only 2, you definitely needed to do that. And every single time there was a dolphin, I wanted to jump in the water, so it's attach a GoPro to your head and dive straight in, because there's no experience like that, not having anything underneath you, and then these dolphins swarming around your boat, and they're squeaking, and there's bubbles, and it's mesmerizing being able to be there and actually being accepted. You felt like you were part of the ocean, that they were your friend then, and that sort of cured some of the loneliness of being by yourself for so long, is that you were part of the ocean. You were one of the animals that was just in there. That's where you were living. But I did have communication. I had a satellite phone, so I could ring up other people. But being out there for so long by yourself is, I can't remember the exact word you used it for, but it's quite motivating. And it's not going to be forever. So, and you're never going to have that experience again. So it's just embracing it as you can. Yeah.
All right. We have 1 more minute, and we have a question in the middle of the room there.
Just a small question. I noticed one of your sponsors was whiskey. Did you have a lot of whiskey on board?
Or any?
The race is sponsored by Talisker, but I'm not the massive fan of whiskey. So I know you're in the middle of the Atlantic. You're on a boat, so I took a lot of rum. Yeah, you can't have a boat without rum on it.
Fair point.
Yeah, it was the rum.
All right. Well, I think we will carry on then. I don't know if there's any other questions, but let's carry on, and we will go to our panel discussion now. And I've gone. Anyway, we'll go to the panel discussion. We have our 4 young ambassadors who will be joining us. Natalija, if you want to join us here on the stage, that'd be great. So we were going to have 3 young ambassadors here and 1 online, but it's gone the other way. So COVID has changed everything. So I want to introduce to you our 4 young ambassadors. I will start with Natalija Dunic, who's here on stage with us. She's a postdoc at the Institute for Fisheries in Croatia. So welcome, Natalija. Thank you very much. I think you might be the person who traveled the furthest to be here in person. So well done.
Just to check whether I'm on.
Yeah, you're there. Perfect.
Wow.
And then online, we have going from left to right, Rebecca Zitoun, who is, I've lost her, who is a postdoc from GUMR in Germany. And then we have Anjali Gopakumar, who is a PhD student from the University of Bologna in Italy. And we have Dr. Alessandro Cresci, who is a postdoc at the Institute for Marine Research in Norway. So before we start, I think I'll give them all 2 minutes just to quickly introduce themselves. And I might start with the guys online. I'll start with Rebecca. So Rebecca, if you want to give a quick introduction.
Oh, yeah. Hi, guys, and thank you for having me. Like Sheila just said, I'm Rebecca Zitoun. I'm a postdoctoral researcher at GUMR in the Marine Mineral Resource Group. So we're doing a lot of environmental risk assessment of deep sea mining, and I'm a biogeochemist, so I'm looking at trace metal toxicology in different environments. Before that, I was a postdoc at NEOS in the Netherlands. That's where I was when I actually became an ambassador for the EMB. And I'm also highly involved in the Ocean Decade because I'm one of the early career ocean professionals. That's one of the many endorsed UN Decade programs. And I'm also the focal point of the Ocean Literacy for All program that was endorsed in January this year. So my heart professionally and personally is really involved in the UN Decade, and I'm really happy to be here today to talk about the UN Decade. Thanks.
Thank you, Rebecca. Okay, and next, Anjali.
Yeah. So hi everyone, again, thank you for having me as well. So my name is Anjali Gopakumar. I am a co-tutel PhD student at the University of Bologna in Italy and Macquarie University in Australia. So I'm looking at the ecosystem functions and services of restored salt marshes in urban seascapes. I just recently joined as an EMB Young Ambassador in April this year. So yeah, and I'm really happy to be here. Thank you for having me. Thank you very much, Anjali. Okay, and then finally, Alessandro.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alessandro, and I'm currently working here in Norway on fish migrations and the impacts that offshore wind and renewable energy have on movement and migratory behavior of commercially important species. And I am also a member of the ICES working group on renewable energy, and I feel really involved with the Ocean Decade, and I think that it's really important that we are all here today to discuss this, and I hope that I can give you like my perspective and that is going to be useful. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Alessandro. Okay, so I'm going to start quickly with a round of questions for the young ambassadors, and then I'll come back to you again, Jasmine. I haven't forgotten about you. You have some water if you want in the meantime. All right, so I'm going to start with asking. I'll ask the same question, and then you can all answer it. And I'll start with you, Alessandro, because we will go backwards this time. The question is. Do you feel that you're able to engage with the Ocean Decade and make it yours?
So I think that I personally think I do. I think I managed to make it mine, but of course, like I am a young scientist, so I am deeply involved in like making science and running experiments, really like filling scientific gaps. So I am already by default kind of involved. So I do think that I am managing to make it mine, but I think here what we should really try to understand is what does it mean to make the ocean decade ours, right? So I think that what really means is that we have to reshape our thinking, and we have to keep the ocean decade in mind. For example, for the perspective of young scientists, when we design our experiments, when we try to fill scientific gaps, if we keep in mind the goals of the ocean decade, then we will be making our part, even indirectly. And then I think that, of course, this is different when you discuss about people who other people who have other jobs and everyday life is completely different. They don't spend their life investigating the ocean. So I think that's also maybe the greatest challenge, is to make the ocean decade theirs as well.
Yeah, thanks. Anjali?
Yeah, so just following up on what Alessandro said, I believe that I feel like I'm also able to make a small dent, have my own swing to it in a sense, mainly because by being involved in the research that I do, and also by being involved as an EMB Young Ambassador. But again, I also feel that personally, I feel like I can help because of the research that I do in the resilience of coastal ecosystems. So I help in that aspect by expanding my knowledge and expanding the knowledge in that subject, and also by being involved with other stakeholders. So, but then that is again something that I'm still learning and trying to understand how I can fit my niche into these particular specificities as such. So I believe I can engage with it, but I'm still learning and trying to understand the best way that I can contribute to it.
Thanks. Okay, and Rebecca, just to remind people, the question was, do you feel you're able to engage with the Ocean Decade and make it yours? I think for you it's probably an easy one, but I'll leave you to answer.
Yeah, for sure. Professionally, like Alessandro and Anjali just said, sure, we are all marine scientists. We all contribute to it to some degree. And to second also what Jasmine said in her really awesome talk beforehand, even personally, if we just recycle, don't litter, and educate people in our friends group, our family, just talk about the ocean and the importance of it, we can make a lot of contributions in our private and our personal life. But and the Ocean Decade has brought us a long way, because most of the programs, initiatives, and the conferences, they're all engage early career scientists and young people at the moment, and that is really great. But what we're totally missing out on is that all the people who have an interest in the ocean are already involved. Like all the people that live on the coast and know about the issues, all the ocean scientists that know about the issues, but what about the people that live away from the ocean, that live in landlocked countries, that don't have access to the internet and can look up what the newest update on a certain scientific topic is? That's the people we are missing out on, and that's the people we have to engage, not us, because we are already involved. The people that don't have access and are not living at the ocean, that's the people we have to involve.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, and I'll ask the same question to you, Natalija.
Thank you. So basically what Alessandro and Rebecca said, by default we are already all engaged in the Ocean Decade, not only a decade, but a lifetime. I mean, we are in a certain way giving our life to make some contributions in the scientific world, especially when it comes to the marine sciences. But I think that bigger question would be here, how could we not just be engaged, because we are already engaged, but how can we lead as an example to other people who have the potential to be engaged as well in the Ocean Decade, but not only scientists, but other people, ordinary people, people who are going to the stores, who are having their regular jobs, people who own stores, for example. So this is one of the things that we can do, so we can make the Ocean Decade even more productive, let's say, in this manner, because the Ocean Decade is a small period of time that we have to engage because, how to choose the words? We have to make the decisions today because we already have a lot of changes happening all around the world. As Rebecca said, not only near the coastlines, but also inland. And since all Earth is connected in one way or another, everything is influencing other things in other parts of the world. And we have to, we as scientists, we as ambassadors, especially the young people who already are triggered by these types of questions and problems and issues, I think we will have to spread the word more wider, on a wider scale, not just among the scientists and not just among the marine connected people.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. So actually that leads me to a really good question to be asked to you, Jasmine. How do you think we can, you gave us some ideas of how to do it in your talk. How do we engage with non-scientists to try and inspire them? You can hear what we're obviously all very focused on our science, but how do we make it happen? You were talking about, the 5p charge that you have for bags that made people aware. Do you think there are other things like that we can do, or can you think of other things?
Yeah, I feel the smallest things actually have the biggest impact. For example, making a law. This tiniest law, 5p, makes people go, oh, actually, they must have done that for a reason. And a lot of people don't like to believe. It's just wash it away. It's not our problem. We can't actually see it yet. So it's getting people to see, whether it's new initiatives that is more litter picking. Again, it's got to be made local. It's got to be, you see that crisp packet, that was actually yours for lunch yesterday. You got to pick it up. It's got to be normalized, basically. But I think for a lot of non-scientists, it's also fashion. You see somebody else doing something, you want to follow them. Another example, if you saw a celebrity on the red carpet wearing the same dress the following time, then news would be all over it, and it would be why, what's going on, or they say, well, Ocean Decade. Immediately, that is what will engage people and go, what are they talking about? What is this? Because people don't like listening to scientists. They don't. It's the most frustrating thing ever, and that's coming from me as well. So it's making things personal and direct. Like, an example here with COVID with Boris, and he just loved using 3 words. It's space, face, all of this stuff, simple, and it's what people remember. So it's simple words that can engage people a lot faster. I think that there's a few different things, but it's not overcomplicating anything and making it about somebody else. If it's about you, like as I spoke about my sister, she didn't care for herself. She only cared now for her children. So if we can say, hang on, this is for somebody that you care about. The amount of people that only said, I'm getting a COVID jab because then it'll protect my grandparents. They didn't care about themselves, they cared about their grandparents. So it's about other people. If we can say that the impact that you do will affect everybody else and the people you care about, not just you, then it hopefully, or more likely, it will actually create a little bit of change.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Okay, I don't know if we have any questions for the panels. You can always put it on Slido for the people online. And if you in the audience have any questions, please put your hand up, and I'm happy to take those. I have a few more that I can ask, but it's much nicer to get questions from the audience. So please do ask them. But while you're thinking of questions, I have another. So I will ask my second question. And I will start this time with Anjali. Just so you know. The question is, what do you think needs to change in order for young scientists to be more integrated into decision-making, especially with the Ocean Decade?
Yeah, so I think that one of the most important ways for ECOPs to be involved in decision making is to understand the workings behind policy making and seeing firsthand how scientific knowledge is transformed into effective actions. For instance, ECOPs are aware of the science and they are proactive towards generating and building the knowledge required for restoring and preserving the ocean ecosystems. But they often also need the knowledge and experience from the policy side of things, which is, I believe, a bit lacking.
Yeah, yeah. I think, to be honest, I don't think it's just early career scientists that have that problem. To be honest, I think most scientists do not actually know how their science could get into policy. So don't feel bad. You're not the only ones. Okay, Alessandro, do you want to go next?
Yes. I think here that one of the main, I think something that would really change things is that I think this should be a top-down approach. I think that the decision makers here have to also make their part. And I think that decision makers have to keep in mind the ECOPs ideas, ECOPs priorities, and also the timeline. Because I think while, you know, early career ocean professionals can put all the effort they want in trying to be heard, but there must be also someone on the other side who hears them. And I think on the ECOPS perspective, I think what can help is that, you know, we all kind of join forces more and we had a more cohesive approach, because I think it's easier for one clear idea or like a few clear ideas to be heard rather than like be more scattered. So I think that the Ocean Decade for this is I think is a great platform, because it allows also the early career professional to like funnel into specific actions and goals, and I think that this can be a way for ECOPs to be heard by people at the top.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, Gerrit, I'm going to come back to you in a moment, but I just had a thought, and I'm sure the whole EMB team now go, oh no, she's got another thought. But here it is. So I wonder what we need is not just early career scientists, but also early career policymakers. Because, you know, in 10 years' time, some of us will be retired as scientists, and we won't be able to deal with the ocean that we've left them. And this is also true for policymakers. A lot of the policymakers will be retired. So maybe what we really need is some early career policymakers that could work towards the end of the decade and make sure that by the end of the decade, because yes, you know, a 5p bag thing is a small law, but it is actually really hard to get into law. It turns out it's actually probably a 5-10 year process to get to that point. So we need those early career politicians now, because that's how long it's going to take to get some of those laws instigated. Okay, Gert.
Yes, we're talking about the decade, and the second part of the title of the decade is for sustainable development. And that, of course, triggers the question of how do we generate impact? It's not just about connecting with people and mobilizing people and understanding for the ocean. It's also, I wonder whether the young scientists, whether they have in their work environment, whether they have opportunity to talk to colleagues on this question about how does what we know now compared to what was known before, how does that create opportunity to create impact. And it's not necessarily through policy, it can also be with other types of actors in the private sector or civil society or whatever. Mm-hmm. Do you have the opportunity now, do you think you have the opportunity under the decade umbrella to have these conversations with similar-minded people in your field of expertise to discuss this question, how do we create impact for the decade?
That's a great question, and I don't know if anybody wants to have a go at answering that.
May I try?
Yes, go.
Thank you. So for the ECOPs part, I think Rebecca is more suitable to answer this question.
Yeah.
But I wanted to add another thing is from the perspective of the European Marine Board and four of us as a young ambassador is that we are now trying to connect all the ECOPs, and one of the activities that we are proposing is to connect all together, to share the ideas and to see what are the issues that are coming from different parts of the EMB members. I mean, the young scientists that are actually involved with the EMB members. As for the ECOPs all around the world, I would say Rebecca is more suitable to answer this.
All right, Rebecca, you're on the spot.
Thank you. I loved all the ideas. Second everything that was just said. But I think what is really missing is that ECOPs are not really heard, like Alessandro said, and that we don't have a vote in most of the things that we're participating in. So of course, ECOPs are really engaged. I mean, we publish a lot, we talk a lot, we are on Twitter, on social media, and so on. But people are not listening to us because we are ECOPs, because we are young scientists, and a journalist and somebody else would rather go to a late or mid-career professional than doing actually what an early career scientist suggests. And I think they're missing out on a lot of potential because I'm not biased or something, but we are the ones that are really up to date on most of the things that are happening because we're reading the papers that are currently getting published. It is part of our job to be up to date on every activity on Twitter and everything that is going on because we have the most up to date scientific and social ideas out there is. So they should be listening to us, but of course it's the fault of the system that they would rather listen to a late career scientist than an early career scientist. And then the other problem is that I'm sitting in so many initiatives and programs, but I don't have a vote. Like they don't let me vote. I'm sitting there, I'm listening to the late career scientists, I'm listening to the mid-career scientists, great ideas, love them all. But they don't care about they care about what I have to say, but I don't have a vote in what is being done. And I think that is a huge lag that we have to tackle at some point.
Yeah, I know in some institutions there is the possibility for an early career scientist to sit on, for instance, in my old institute, they sat on the board that made the decisions, you know, or at least the executive board that implemented the decisions that were made. So they definitely had a voice there. But I think indeed there's more needs to be done in order for that to happen, I think. I don't know if anybody else wanted to take Gert's question about the, I see you, Gilles, about, you know, how else to make impact. I don't know, maybe I'll ask Jasmine the question about, do you think there's more ways that young scientists could engage with the public that you can think of, or even with you know, the sponsors that you had? Do you think there's ways that they might be able to engage that they haven't thought of?
No, I can't think because
it's really hard to.
Yeah, for me, it was nobody wanted to listen to me either, saying that I could do this until I sort of proved myself.
Yeah.
So it's almost having just a little bit of proof to show that actually I am more viable to listen to, or just having these older scientists which are going into retirement to pass on and say, no, here's a testimonial. Look, this is the new me, effectively. Other than that, I think, it's just a struggle that I can't help with.
I think that's a struggle every young person in the world has ever dealt with. It's not new to the young scientists. Okay, we have Gilles, and then we have a question behind. It's Gilles first, though. I think he had his hand up first. I think so. Did you have your hand up?
Okay,
you go.
I have the mic, so, okay, thank you. I would like to reply a little bit to Rebecca. So I understand absolutely what she says, but I think as an old man, but I've been young, I can tell you I've been young sometimes, a long time ago. There is a chance. You see, there is more organization listening to the young ambassadors. They use these terms. Everybody now, even at the where I'm working now at the Prime Minister, they ask me, oh, it's a good idea, we have these young ambassadors. How do you think we can engage with young ambassadors for the policy understanding and how we can talk to them? So I think there is some progress in that direction. So I hope it will continue. And of course, it's because of you, and it's because what you are saying. I remember I've been to one of these European Assembly, and there was a lot of people like me, the same age, sitting around, you know, thinking they can say things, they believe in everything. And when the floor was taken by the young guys, I think the message were stronger. What they say is coming from their soul, and it was very, very strong. And I think it has something, they made something change. So I think your message is very important. This is one point, but my question was, okay, now you are a young scientist. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I hope you will be old scientist. So I wonder how you see your future, how you see what could be your action in the future when you unfortunately will not be young forever. It depends if the science succeed in making change on the DNA, but I don't think we are at that level now. So my question is, how do you see your future? What do you think you will be and how you will change? It's a very tough question, but I think maybe you have a vision, and I'd like to hear a little bit, very quick vision of your future and what you can do in the future. Thank you.
So just to recap, I think the question is kind of one of the questions I had. You know, where do you want to be at the end of the decade? You've got 9 years. You'll be sort of mid-level by then. And then I think Gilles' question is at the end, where do you think this science, marine science, needs to be by the time you reach my and his age? And I will start with Rebecca this time.
Tough question. Thank you for choosing me first. I think what is really important for us to become more transdisciplinary and to realize that if we really want to drive change, that we can't just focus on our own science, that we have to work with social scientists, that we have to work with policymakers and co-produce and co-design some meaningful and impactful science that will actually do something good for our planet and our society. Because at the moment, what most scientists do or have been doing for decades, and it has been changing in the last couple of years, I totally agree with Gilles on this, that we were too focused on that little tiny niche field we are all working on. But the Ocean Decade forces us to be broader. We have to be broad to drive change. And we really have to get that mentality, that mantra really deeply ingrained into us that we have to be broad to change.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, Anjali?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really tough question. I honestly don't really have a lot to add other than just seconding what Rebecca said. That we need to become more transdisciplinary. But yeah, that's about it. I'm sorry, I don't really have a lot to add to that either.
Alessandro, I don't know if you have something to add.
Yes, I think this is a great point. Rebecca also raised, because, you know, like in the past, I would say maybe in the past 5 to 10 years, the words transdisciplinary and interdisciplinary have been super used, and, you know, in all the grant proposals, in all the collaborations, it's always, if it's multidisciplinary, then it's great, right? And I think that's true. I think that's true, but I think that we cannot forget that, you know, each one of us has his own technical expertise, right? So one can be interdisciplinary, and I think we when I get old, as Gilles said, I pretty much gonna still look like this, but it's okay. But when I get old, I think that what I can really realistically do is that I don't think I will be able, you know, to conduct research in other fields that are really different from mine, because that requires a lot of technical knowledge. But what one can do is to keep in mind the Ocean Decade, to keep in mind the ultimate goals, and then when we do our job and we keep in mind how useful the things that we do can be for other disciplines and can be for other people and can be for the stakeholders. That's, I think, what we really can do when we become older.
Thanks. And Natalija?
Yeah, it is a tough question. I will start from myself. I cannot say I see myself because it depends on so many variables. I mean, we are living in a real world, but I wish to see myself doing a research and trying to do the best that I can to preserve the Adriatic coast. The majority of the Adriatic islands, that are more than 3,000 of them, and they're quite beautiful, and I really want to preserve them as much as I can. At least I want to be a part of this thing. And I also have another wish, a global one wish. I wish that in 10 years from now, so by the end of the ocean decade, by 2030, okay, 9 years, sorry. Wow, time flies so fast. I wish that awareness when it comes to climate change, when it comes to the preservation, not only the ocean, but also the land, I wish that the word awareness is part of the human consciousness. That's what I wish. So we don't have to talk about it anymore. I feel like for the last minimum 5 years, we're just speaking about how we can put awareness of something in people's mind. And I wish that in 10 years, 9 years from now, we don't have to think about that anymore. I wish that we would just go a step further to it, you know, to the real part of the sustainability.
Yeah,
that's my wish.
That's great. I don't know if you wanted to add something, Jasmine. Where do you think these guys should be at the end of their career, given that you've sort of got to know them now?
Yeah, given how knowledgeable and awesome you are already, I think in 9 years' time, you'll have made some big impacts and big changes. I can't say exactly what, because I don't know specifically what you're working on. But yeah, I got a lot of high hopes for you.
Good.
I expect to see you again.
Excellent. So we have one question, I think the gentleman just in the second row or third row there.
Okay, thank you. I had this question a while ago, and listening to so much talk, I have to, rephrase it.
Sorry, can I just, I should have said this at the beginning, can you just put say your name and where you're from?
Hi, yeah, my name is Rob Smets. I'm from, let's say, Eura Robotics, and we're a Belgium-based company developing new technology for efficient and affordable coastal ecosystem monitoring. So,
excellent.
That's a bit of the idea. This question is a bit more from personal experience than from a technical point of view. I think a lot was said about how we can influence, let's say, the broad public so that they have better behavior in a bottom-up way about how they act for the environment, limiting the carbon footprint, using less plastics. But then from my personal point of view, and that's a frustration I always have, I think that has an impact if most people start doing that. But the biggest impact, and that's a bit of grim worldview, is where we have, let's say, this big commercial worldwide vessel driven on big data to use dopamine triggers to trigger us to consume more. So we're always a bit torn, what is good behavior, what is not. So then the question is, what can we do as individuals in a sustainable way to, let's say, influence really the policymakers and the governments to make more thorough decisions? Because if we look at COP26 about fisheries, for example, and the situation of the ocean, every news I see is, okay, they're doing something, but it's not enough. And our individual behavior won't change that if those decisions don't become more thorough. So what can the general public do, apart from going out with the proverbial pitchforks to put more pressure on governments and policymakers?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know who wants to have a go. Natalija, you're the fisheries expert here.
Not the fisheries, physics, climate of the sea. Recently I got a similar question like that. Like, what can I do? What can I personally do? I mean, I'm just a small guy who just tries to live my life. You can do a lot. I mean, if you can see, you think you're the only one, but you're not. There's just a lot of people all around the world that are asking the same question. And it's basic of summation of statistics. So if all of you reduce, for instance, the usage of electrical energy or any other type of energy, it means that there wouldn't be necessity to produce it in this amount. I would say that. What I have been experienced in my life is that people usually don't think about the lights in their houses. They just put every lights on when they come home. I mean, you don't have to have a light in each of the room, especially in the room that you are not in it. And you don't have to have turn on cars when you are waiting in a car ferries, in a ferry boat. You don't have to have the car switched on. Usually people do that. And when you look about it, I mean, if you look about let's say in Croatia, the transportation with a ferry boat is a lot per day. And if you take the amount of carbon footprint that is coming from a single ferry and then multiply it by the number of the round trips that are going to the islands and back, it's a lot. And imagine if all these cars were just turned off during one day, during 1 month, during 5 months, during the touristical season. It's a lot that you can preserve. So people mostly think like, okay, I cannot do anything, but basically they can.
So if I think that's it's a very, very good, point you're making. And I think what we can do is actually make people aware of that. What we really need is the campaign to say, okay, you're asking what can you do? Well, turn your lights off. I know there has been campaigns like that. I know in the UK, for instance, there's campaigns like that. But maybe we need those in other places as well. And, the ferry boat is a really good example. Maybe what you need is flyers or some sort of campaign on the ferries to make people aware of. If you give them a number, then it makes it much easier for them to understand. I don't know if anybody else has an answer to that, but I do have some more questions in the room, so you don't need to feel like you desperately need to look for an answer. Do you guys on screen have any? No? No? Okay, we have a question in the back there. The lady, did you also have a question? But we'll go with the lady first. Sorry.
Hello, so my name is Fiona Elaine Strasser. I'm one of the All-Atlantic Ocean Youth Ambassadors. And I would just like to pick up the previous question, because I really agree very much with everything that has been said before about how the youth needs to be more included in the votings and that we also get to have a say in everything. But I'm also more thinking about like my personal surroundings. So first of all, for example, I'm the only scientist in my family, and nobody has ever heard of the Ocean Decade. I mean, I can't blame them. You can't see it on TV, you can't see it in the news. I was a bit disappointed with the great start of the UN Ocean Decade that nobody really heard about it except scientists. And I mean, I'm just curious. I'm constantly trying to figure out how can we as scientists kind of like span the bridge also to the general public. And it's really great also to have Jasmine here because she also said the smallest things can have the biggest impact. And me, I just tried to do my part in talking to my parents, hoping that they'll spread the word, because once you talk to one person, they talk to another person, and it spreads on like that. But I'm just wondering how we can make this more easier for people, and especially scientists, because we are scientists during the day, we are very deep into our statistics and everything that we have to deal with, but how can we talk to the people in our private lives? How can we include them into what's going on? Because effectively everyone is affected by what's happening with the ocean, and also in terms of policies and everything the like. So I would just be curious to hear your opinions about that.
All right. Any takers to that question?
I can go.
Yeah, Alessandro, and then Rebecca.
That's a great question. I think that like to really have an impact in terms of reaching out to the public. I think what we need to keep in mind is what kind of society now we have. what kind of behavior people on average have, and like what do they do on average most of the time every day, and they are on their phone. So everybody's on their phone, everybody's on Facebook, everybody's on Instagram, and you know, like Rebecca said, we have to reach also like to people, reach out to people who are like inland. I totally agree with that, and I want to also remind that like there are plenty of people who live by the ocean and just don't care, you know. So, and it's because people don't pay attention, and I think that what we can do is to try to advocate and like really try to reach out to people through these platforms and try our best, and I think and I think, you know, and that it comes all to science communication, right? And like how we are able to transform a complex message in a very simple short line that like can reach out to everyone, and like my grandma can understand and my grandpa can understand. And that's really what it comes to. And I think it's like both the message and the delivery platform.
Yeah, thanks. Rebecca?
Yeah, I love what you said, Alessandro, but I also want to pick up on what Jasmine said earlier on. She said that people do not listen to scientists. They haven't been doing it for climate change, they haven't been doing it for COVID, and they won't do it for the decade of ocean science. And I think it's not the role of a scientist to be an activist or do something for conservation or do science communication. Our role is to be a scientist. Our role is to do good science, to produce the data that policymakers, science communicators, and all the other people can then use to educate the people. So I think we just as scientists have to start collaborating with the educators, with the teachers, with the news, with the journalists, with the policymakers, and let them do their job while we are doing our job. Because if we're also doing the job of all these other people, like twittering, science communication, we're diluting our science. And the first role we have is being scientists. And if we're not doing it right, no wonder people don't listen to us.
I have to say that's a very valid point, Rebecca, because you can't do everything well. So you have to pick the things that you're good at and do those well, but make sure that you work with the people that can do the other things well. I totally agree. I don't know if anybody else on the stage has a comment.
I would like to say I agree with Rebecca totally, because she's right. We are scientists. We should do what we are supposed to do. And we need other people to deliver the messages. We are the ones who are providing evidences on the facts that we are observing. We are going to tell you this is what will happen in the future if the things go in this direction. And then you as a policymaker should decide which type of future you would want, because unfortunately, at the end of the day, we do most of the work, and that's not okay. But I also agree with Jasmine, because I love her idea. We should get a celebrity on this.
If you find us one. Jasmine, that's your job, please. Find us one. You also wanted to add something?
Yeah, so I agree. It's not the scientist's job to sort of do all the activist work and the campaigning. It should start with education in schools. The Ocean Decade, we have 9 years. So from everybody up to the age of 18, that could then be everybody up to the age of 27 by the Ocean Decade. And it's then this generation which will educate the older generation about this as well. So there gets to a certain point where the roles get reversed. It's not the parents that are teaching the children, it's the children that end up teaching the parents. So if everybody can start learning this as a mandatory thing, then by the time 2030 is here, we've taught the parents and the grandparents about what is happening and how they can help, just how we have to show them how to use the iPhone. You know, it's the exact same thing like that. And I think that's the strongest point of where we stand, is in schools.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so I think we have time for one last question. I think This has been an amazing panel so far. So
I am François Lallier from the French Marine University Network at the European Marine Board. And it's not a question anymore because you have answered part of it. It's a commentary. Bouncing back on what you say, Sheila, about trying to work with the early career policymakers, and what Rebecca or Alessandro or the others have said, that we are scientists, but we have to work with other people that are maybe early career communication professionals. And that's something I have started to do in my university, to make people from ocean science masters talk with journalists or communication schools in the same university. And I think that's something our young ambassadors can do in their own universities, bringing the faculties, which often do not talk to each other, between the letter or economics and science. So we have to promote that, so that you young people, you will be scientists, but the other will be journalists or policymakers, and you have to talk to each other right now when you're young. So when you get older, you can understand each other.
That's a great idea. I'm aware that I didn't take any questions from the online. So we have one more. I think we're over time, but we can eat into coffee break quickly.
Okay, I will just ask one of the questions then that's sort of already been addressed, but maybe someone else has one final comment on this. Jeremy Galt is asking, why do people react so strongly to TV documentaries and ignore what scientists have been when scientists have been presenting the same information, only better researched for decades? But I think, it was already discussed that it's the scientist's role to do the science, and that you need to work with the communication specialists to get the messages across. But maybe someone has some opinions there.
I don't know if anybody has an opinion. I certainly do, but I'll leave it to the panel. No?
Yeah, I just want to say that it's because of the emotions. As soon as you have a picture or a video, it just brings across more emotions. Like we just watched Jasmine's videos of the dolphins, and it was just beautiful. And of course you want to then conserve the ocean, but if a scientist gives you a number, you're like, meh, okay, well. So it's pictures and emotions that go together.
Okay, I don't know if anybody else has...
I think it's also, people are very lazy, and when you get a scientist tell you something, you actually have to engage your brain and you have to think about it. Whereas when you're watching something and there's a documentary, it's something goes into your brain without you necessarily realizing or having to do anything. And I think that is where the bigger impact is.
Yeah. And I think this comes back to your comment that you made in your speech about the Seaspiracy, which had a huge impact, but actually had quite bad scientific flaws. So for me, the bottom line is we need to work much closer with these documentary makers so that they don't, make it worse, I think. So that, I think, is from I will leave it at that. I think the scientists, and we need to work closer with the documentary makers. So. And for that, then, I think I will thank you all. Thank you very much for the speakers. Thank you guys online. Thank you for the people sitting on the stage. And for everybody online, you are now more than welcome to go home and to go and have your own coffee from your wonderful coffee machine or tea or whatever you're having. It's a little bit too early for a beer, I suspect. But for the people in the room, we will have coffee outside. And we will reconvene at 11:45 Brussels time. And yes, I think we have a holding slide, which has amazingly appeared so that I don't have to do it. So thank you very much and see you soon.